Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So as you can tell from the title, today's video is going to be a 2019 review plus my hopes for 2020. Really quickly, I want to apologize again for being so inconsistent with my posting. I've been dealing with a lot of personal issues this past couple of weeks, and I've been very inconsistent with posting regularly for that reason. I'm not exactly out of the woods yet, so I can't say for sure when my schedule will go back to normal, but I'm going to try my best to get back to my regular schedule. But enough of me apologizing. Let's just get into the video. Really quickly, I want to give a couple of disclaimers. Number one, this video is by no means going to include every group or idol in K-pop. Everybody I included in this video is either somebody I stan or people that intrigued me this past year. So if somebody is not included in this video, it's not because I forgot them. It's because I either felt like I didn't have enough to say about them to include in this video, or I just was not keeping up with what they were doing this year. And number two, as I've said before, I am a hardcore girl group stan, so this video is not going to include many boy groups. There are only 2 boy groups that I mentioned in this video, so I'm sorry, but I just don't keep up with any boy groups or male idols in general. And so for that reason, this video is going to be centered mainly around girl groups / female idols. This year was a very good year for Red Velvet in my opinion. They had 3 comebacks, all of which I thoroughly enjoyed. I was kind of nervous at the beginning of the year because I was like, when are they coming back? I remember a lot of Red Velvets were panicking because they were like, holy shit, when are they coming back? But I was thoroughly, I was so happy with all of the comebacks that they released this year. My favorite out of the Red Velvet Festival trilogy in terms of title tracks is Psycho, and my favorite album is the Red Velvet Festival Day 1. The only bad thing about this year were just all of the antis that resurfaced when they released Zimzalabim, and Wendy unfortunately getting injured. As for my hopes for Red Velvet, I hope that they have at least 2 comebacks in 2020. I really hope that Wendy has an easy and quick recovery, and I hope that we get another Red full album. I know that's kind of a reach. It probably won't happen in 2020, but I hope that at some point we get another full Red themed album like the Red. Honestly, I'm very nervous for Red Velvet as SM is planning to debut a new girl group next year, and we all know that SM will take any chance to throw their girl groups into the dungeon, but I am cautiously hopeful that SM will come to their senses and realize how popular Red Velvet are, especially considering that this was probably their most successful year and they had such a huge growth in their fan base. This year was definitely a good year for Chunga. Both Gotta Go and Snapping were successful, and she's definitely skyrocketed in popularity since 2018. As of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she's the most successful member from IOI, which I honestly wasn't expecting. This is no shade towards her, by the way. I just thought that it was going to be Somi, but surprisingly it's Chunga. But for my hopes for Chunga for next year, I really hope that she tries experimenting with a different sound and or concept. I did like both Gotta Go and Snapping musically, but concept-wise and visually, I thought that Snapping was a little too similar to Gotta Go, and so when it was released, I found myself just kind of bored. Snapping as a song, like I said, is good, but in terms of comeback stages and the music video and other things like that, I just was not really interested. I found them just way too similar. And so I really hope that she changes it up in the new year. And I also hope that one of her comebacks next year really just shows off her dancing abilities, because I felt like her comebacks this year were really lacking that. The Gotta Go choreography was very memorable, but it was sort of underwhelming in my opinion. I hope that next year she gives us a comeback more centered around dancing than vocals. This year was a really, really, really good year for BTS. Despite them only having 1 comeback this year, I never really found myself bored or desperate for new music from them, because they were just doing so much to keep ARMYs entertained. And other companies honestly need to take notes because BTS handled this gap between comebacks so well. And as much as I always want new music from them, but I never really found myself like, oh my God, when are they gonna come back? But yeah, they did a really good job of keeping us entertained. And as for my hopes for them next year, I just hope that they have at least 2 comebacks. And I hope that the boys get another and hopefully longer break for resting between comebacks as well. I am so proud of Twice for everything that they did this year. 2019 was definitely a hard year for them, and despite all of the shit that they had to deal with, they came through with all of their comebacks. And I just really am so proud of them for that reason. Both Feel Special and Fancy were some of my favorite comebacks from Twice, and the Feel Special mini album is easily one of my favorite albums from them. And Fancy, I think I've mentioned this before, but it's like at the top on my Spotify Wrapped songs, like of my most listened to songs this year. It's like right at the top. But my hopes for them for next year is that we get another cute concept from them. I really love their cute concepts, and I hope that they don't give them up completely and rather alternate between cute and mature concepts instead. Like BTS, I really hope that they get a break next year because they've been working almost nonstop for the past 2 years. I also really hope that at some point within the next 2 or 3 years that they go on tour again. Twice Lights was easily one of the best concerts I've ever been to, and I really hope that this isn't the last time that they tour outside of Asia. And I also really hope, like everybody else, that Mia rejoins them next year and that she's in the best condition possible. ITZY were easily the most successful rookie group this year, and they have probably had one of the most successful debuts of all time. They got 21 wins with their first 2 comebacks, and they're easily the top rookie group of 2019. My hopes for ITZY next year are that they start to change up their sound a little bit. I feel like their music right now is more like party music, like get up, jump around and dance or whatever, and I'm really not feeling it, I guess. The only song I really like from ITZY is Cherry, and I really hope that they start to lean towards that formula for their music instead of just, like kind of noisy party music, I guess. And I want to clarify that I don't hate ITZY or anything. I just feel like my hesitance in standing them comes from the fact that I can really only listen to one of their songs all the way through. I honestly don't really have much to say about TXT. I really like their debut, and I think that they have a very promising future as a group. Despite me being like a hardcore girl group stan, I found myself listening to a lot of their music this year. My favorite songs being Blue Lemonade, Cat and Dog, and 20 Centimeters. Don't come for me if I'm not pronouncing that right. And I will say that my hope for them next year is that Big Hit lays off the autotune. In their recent comeback, it was so heavily used in the title tracks and the B-sides that it was borderline unbearable. I'm not sure if it's a stylistic choice or if they feel like they have to use it, but I really hope that they start to use less of it in the future. And I would also really like to see TXT pull off like a darker concept like Fake Love or something like that. I felt like this year was a little underwhelming for GFRIEND. Time for Us was a very good album, but I felt like the title tracks that were released this year were kind of lackluster. I feel like I've said this before, but I really hope that GFRIEND start to change up their sound in the future. And I don't necessarily mean that they do a girl crush concept. I felt like they did a pretty good job of like switching up their sound with Fever, but the B-sides on that mini album were a little too similar to songs that they've already released. For me personally, I feel like my favorite GFRIEND title tracks are the ones that break away from the typical molds that Source Music has for them, like Sunny Summer and Fingertip. GFRIEND have already received a lot of criticism because Source Music has the tendency to run things like their concept and their sound into the ground, and too many of their comebacks/concepts are way too similar to each other. I also hope that next year or within the next 3 years or so, GFRIEND go on an international tour. International buddies are constantly starving for more content from them, and it would be so nice if they came to visit their fans outside of Asia. This was honestly a rough year for Promise. They only had one comeback and they still have yet to get their first year, and Idol School is currently being investigated for the same thing that Mnet was. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it's unclear what this will mean for Promise as a group. Next year, I really hope that the whole Idol School situation is sorted out and that they have at least 2 comebacks, get their first win, and release a full album. I really, really hope that Promise are more active as a group in the future, because Flovers have been dying from the lack of content from them, and I would just really love to see more of them in 2020. I think the biggest disappointment this year was the fact that we were so convinced, as like Orbits were so convinced that 2019 was going to be Loona's year, and then they proceeded to be dormant for like 3/4 of this year. While Loona did grow quite a bit in popularity, it would have been so much better if they had been more active in terms of music/comebacks. And my hope for them in 2020 is obviously that Loona are more active and that they have at least 2 comebacks, they release a full album, and that they possibly do an international showcase, and that they gain more popularity domestically and they get their first win. Because while Loona are relatively popular internationally, they lack a domestic fan base. Overall, I really hope that Loona gain the recognition they deserve next year and that we get more music from them. Anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment below your opinions on 2019 as a whole, and comment below some video suggestions for me in the future. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!